absolutely understand all of that. But why these 6 things? 2, 4, 5 things, 5 places. Hey, welcome back to my channel. So this is Melissa here, coming at you with a Life in Arizona update. Governor Ducey just had a press conference with his health officials, and he just did a mandate, to my surprise. So with that being said, that's what this video is already about, if you haven't read in the title. But before we get to that, let's get to some of the business at hand. If you have not already, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and you hit the notification bell, as I am on the road to 1,000. 1,000 what? 1,000 subscribers. Always leave a comment. I love to hear from you. But most of all, hit that subscribe button and share these videos if you enjoy these videos. With that being said, let's get right into this video. So like I said, Governor Ducey just did a press conference maybe about an hour ago. It's a mandate that people have really just been back and forth in Arizona about. And I think the entire country is back and forth about a lot of stuff. The country is back and forth about whether we should wear masks and don't mask, and shut down, not shut down. Well, in his executive order, which, side note, I feel like the way the press conference went, it was a very soft opening. It was almost as if he didn't want to say those words. This is a mandate. This is an executive order. And I wasn't the only person that thought that. There were other people in the comment section that felt the same exact way. It was almost like spit it out already. It took an hour and a half, and I may be exaggerating, but that's the way it felt. It took an hour and a half for him to build up his case as to why he was going to make the decisions that we're going to discuss later. He went over statistics, which is good. But because most people know what the state of the state is, the status of the state is, and the numbers, we just want to know, okay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You have some people that are like, you know what, don't you dare shut down the state. Some people are like, you know what, shut down the entire state. That's what needs to happen. I am kind of split in the middle. I don't think that this is something that we have to, or should not have to. I don't think this is something that we're going to be able to continue for a very long time. But something on the flip side of me is like, you know what, this is going to be the new normal, because I believe, in listening to the experts, and also in knowing, looking at the other countries that have been successful, those countries have been successful because they did a complete shutdown. And unfortunately, the United States has not done that. And I think to me, and this could be another video, I just think the information is all over the place. It's fragmented, and it's like pockets of information coming out. And so New York is doing well now, and now we're the hot spot, and Texas is a hot spot, and Florida is a hot spot. And I just think as long as there's not a congruent conversation and plan of action, which there was one in place, and I'll talk about that here in a second. There was one in place, but it went up in shambles because the person that created it decided, you know what, I'm going to go against it, and I'm going to tell people they need to open. That's exactly what happened. So with that being said, what is the state of Arizona prior to today? And today is Monday, the 29th. Prior to today, Arizona has been open. There may be some social distancing orders that was in place, but it definitely was not enforced. So churches were open. Some churches decided to close back down, but there are some churches, the church that we belong to, they were hosting 300 people per service, and you had to reserve seating and social distancing, and we're going to clean in between services. However, whatever. From what I understand, the bars have been packed. I haven't been to a bar or anything like that. The restaurants were completely open. The hair salons, everything's open. Arizona is open, and that's just what it is up until today. So let me go back to last week. You really didn't hear strong language from Ducey. It was, I'm going to let everyone govern themselves. We have a problem, but it's not a problem. I'm going to open salons. I'm going to, just really no conclusive idea of where the government was going, and just in speaking to the government of Arizona. He would do these briefings and it was almost like, okay, why did I just watch that? Because you said absolutely nothing. You said, you know, the numbers are okay, but they're not okay, whatever. Fast forward, you have Trump that came to visit. Again, I see no problem with it, because here's the thing. The state was open. The state was open. So there was nothing against Trump coming here. As asinine as I may have think it was, just from a COVID standpoint, social distancing, I feel like these people have a right to gather. Let them gather, do whatever they feel like they need to do. Of course, we had the protests and the rioting and all of that. Now, of course, when you're looking at the comment section, it's very interesting, because you have people that want to name the bars being open as the problem. You want to have people blaming people tubing being the problem, because that's another thing. Everyone's at the lake. It is beautiful here. As you can see by my flames here, it is hot here. It is so hot. And that's why I have my flame backgrounds, you know, because we are talking about life in Arizona. But it is very hot here. And so there are people that are at the lake every day. The lakes are operating under some sort of mandated, you know, only social distancing policy. So they shut down after a certain amount of people coming in. But that's neither here nor there. That has been the state of Arizona. We had Trump to visit. So I started getting word that maybe some things would, the idea that some things were going to be changing, because VP Pence was supposed to come back sometime this week, and that was canceled. And so with that being said, let's fast forward to, and that was just last week. So now we're here on Monday, and we have Governor Ducey, who did this executive order. What's in the executive order? I already talked to you about how he presented it. It was not something where it was strong leadership. Whether you were for it or against it, you got to agree that this guy just kind of was speaking in circles. It was quite confusing. It was confusing for those of us in the comment section. Even as he was explaining, this is what we're going to do, and this is the mandate, and that is the mandate. As he was speaking, it was quite confusing, because we're like, okay, he'd say something and then he'd say, but I'm going to leave that to the public to decide. He'd say something and he'd say, okay, I'm going to leave that to each city to enforce. And it just was quite interesting. And it was kind of the same thing as he was with last week, where it was like, I know I have a problem. This state has a problem, which that language has not been before. But starting after last week's conference, a couple of days ago, I want to say it was Thursday or Friday, it was very strong language coming from Ducey, which I thought last Thursday he was going to do those executive orders, because that's how strong he was coming out. This is a problem. You guys need to stay home. You need to wear masks. These are things that he's never said before. Whether you're for it or against it, we could talk about that another day. For me, do whatever you feel like you need to do to protect yourself and your family. And if you feel like there's nothing to protect your family from, c'est la vie. That's great too. So we fast forward to today, and we have this language that's just as strong as last week. So I was like, you know what? It's going to be a bunch of double speak. And here's the thing. I'm not quite sure what I'm not going to argue what he should or shouldn't do, but what I think he should do is be precise, and he should have strong leadership. Now, I will go through and talk about some of these things that he's mandated, but at the same time, it's almost like an oxymoron. So you want to close down one thing, but then the other thing is open. So it's just kind of weird of what we're picking and choosing to keep open and to close. I agree 100% that masks are the first line of defense besides social distancing. So with this mandate, let's fast forward to today. So Ducey comes out today, and like I said, the language was kind of confusing, and ultimately myself and others in the comment section, we just feel like he didn't want to be the bad guy. He doesn't want to be the bad guy, but he knows that there's a problem. He knows that there's a problem. He's admitted that there's a problem. He admitted, you know, he did that scientifically with the numbers. It had nothing to do with his emotions or, oh my gosh, I'm scared, or all this other stuff. What he did is he ran down the numbers. This is what happened when we shut down for 2 weeks before. This is what happened when we opened up, and our cases have been increasing as a result of opening up. So now we're going to lead to these closures. Arizona. What is the state of Arizona? Arizona is now on a 30-day coronavirus lockdown. So I'm going to grab my phone and I'm just going to go through what it is that he's mandating to remain open, what is allowed to remain closed. And I'm going to try my best to answer as many questions as I can that came up from myself as he was speaking. So the first thing that he mentioned was that the bars, the gyms, movie theaters, water parks, and tubing will be shut down. He specifically named this weekend. He knew that some people had plans, but he kept saying, let's be clear, you are safer at home. Like he kept saying that. They're all being shut down. Now I'm kind of... it's kind of interesting because while it's like, I just feel like, okay, you're shutting these things down, but people can still go get their hair done. People can still do other type of recreational things, gyms. Then there was a question where somebody was like, okay, what if there's a bar that serves food? Because you didn't shut down the restaurants, which is fine. But what if there's a bar that serves food? How are you going to enforce that? He could not answer it. All he kept saying was there's a 50 or more mandate that you can only have 50 people or less to congregate. It was just like that. So people started, and the reporters started asking him, what about this? What about that? And again, you did not get a solid answer other than, is it 50 more people? They need to social distance and they need to wear their mask. That's pretty much it. And so again, I just think he doesn't want to be the bad guy and just be like, hey, salons or this or that, because there was such an uproar a couple of weeks ago. People want to get their hair done. They want to get their haircuts, and I absolutely understand all of that. But why these 6 things? 2, 4, 5 things, 5 places. And here's my thinking, because I'm going to tell you the next thing that he said. The next thing he said was public events of 50 plus people is banned. And if I remember correctly, he went on to say, but he will leave it to the different mayors and city to enforce that ordinance. If that's not weak leadership, whether you agree or not, I'm not discussing that in this moment, but right now, that's confusing. Because here's the thing. Again, it's inconsistent messaging. Because I can be in Scottsdale, and Scottsdale could be very, very strict and say, you know what, 50 or more people, nope, we're not gathering. There will be absolutely no gathering. And then you can go right down the street to Mesa and you can have the same exact gathering of those same people. So it's just kind of, to me, very disappointing, but more so than disappointing, it's kind of confusing. And to me, this mandate lacks the leadership cojones behind it to enforce it, because now things are mandated, but now they're left up to so many different interpretations, and people are definitely entitled to those interpretations. People are entitled to lead their cities and as they under the law, but this is what he said: the bars, the movie theaters, the gyms, the water parks, and the tubing, and the 50 plus people. So of course, the big elephant in the room, what about churches? So one of the reporters, he asked, okay, what about churches? Again, Ducey did not say churches cannot meet. What he said was, the best thing for right now, you are safer at home. And he went on to, and I'm quoting him indirectly, he said 50 or more people is illegal for the next 30 days. You're not allowed to gather. So again, our churches within a city can there, it's exhausting, because even with the mandate for the mask. So a couple of days ago, or I forgot how long he did that, he mandated that masks were mandatory. You had all these sheriffs and people that came around and said, I'm not enforcing that. And to their defense, how do you enforce that? How do you enforce that as a state? Is it jail time? Is it a fee? What is it? What are we doing? What are we doing? So you had people up in arms because they can go in one store and one store didn't care. You go in another and another store said, we're not going to help you with a mask. And you had someone else that said, don't deny service because someone is not wearing a mask. All over the place. Can we just say all over the place? And I am not easily confused, but this can be very confusing. We have all these places closed down. Then, of course, churches was one of the big places that came up. And then sports came up. High school, professional, and youth sports. And again, no clear guidance as to what one should do. Ducey basically said, hey, we're going to continue to follow the social distancing guidelines. You just understand you're safer at home. And we are getting our cues for what to do from the medical experts. So it's like, did you not think that these questions and concerns were going to arise when you did this press conference? Did you not think that that was going to happen? Did you not think this through? And I think because of the soft leadership or the lack of just, boom, this is what it is. This is what's going to happen. This, you had even call an emergency meeting and say, hey, this is what I'm going to enforce. And these are the things that's going to happen. If this person, if these people decide to do X, Y, Z, this is what I'm mandating should happen. This is the fine. This is not the fine. This is the warning, whatever that looks like. I'm going to do a mandate of 50 plus people. So these are all the things that we could possibly think of that's going to be effective. Are we going to be zero tolerance about it? And if we are, these people meet, this is what's going to happen. It's really weird. And I'm going to tell you what my secret is as to how I'm able to kind of predict what's happening. Here we have the governors on this all-call governor phone call with the administration and the professionals. If you pay close attention, you can kind of predict where your state is going to be in all of this based on the conversation of a state that just left the phase or that is in the phase that you are in. For an example, a couple of days ago, I want to say Governor Abbott in Texas said he was going to shut down bars and whatever. So Texas is kind of going neck and neck with us. It sounds as if the administration is giving them the leeway to make the decisions that they're making, but some of these decisions are going parallel with each other. So when I saw a couple of days ago that Abbott did that, I knew Ducey was coming down the pike with something. And that has been the same thing from school closing. I knew when school was, I know that, and it's the same thing. The kids are not going back to school. And if they go back to school, it's going to be September, October timeframe. And they are going to offer at least a 3-phase or a 3-part option for parents to choose on how their kids are going to reintegrate in school, because that's what I'm seeing in other states. That's just a freebie on, okay, how does Melissa kind of predict this stuff? Because they're all on the same phone call. They're all complaining about the same thing, whether their numbers are good, their numbers are bad. This is what I'm going to do. Look at New York. One day we'll all be like New York. One day we'll be like, or whatever. But you can kind of predict where your state is going to go by looking at a state that is just like it or that is just left being the hot spot. We'll see. We'll see how this turns out. We'll see how people respond. This 30-day mandate reclosure is in effect at 8 o'clock tonight. And so that's going to be interesting, the closing of it all. And if you live in Arizona and you're just as confused about it as I am, leave a comment down below. We don't have to agree. We don't have to agree on mask, no mask, gathering, no gathering. Here's the thing. I'm going to do what I feel like I want to do within the law. And I feel like you should be able to do the same thing until there's a mandate. If there's not a mandate for it, I don't have time to be arguing with you or whatever. I do find some things kind of interesting, the name calling and all of that, but it's to be expected, I guess. I don't expect it. It's kind of shocking because I'm like, we're all adults here, but okay. We can't communicate without name calling, but okay, whatever. Name calling because someone chooses to protect themselves. I don't know. So anyway, that's what it is. We have the bars the gyms, the movie theaters, water parks, tubings, and no public events of 50 plus people. Oh, that I forgot that part. He pushed back the opening of school to August 17th. That's a tentative date for the reopening of schools. And when pressed about that, he simply said, hey, I'm not telling you that we're going to go back to regular school on the 17th. I'm just telling you based on the numbers right now, hopefully everything will look good and we can start planning. But I'm asking you, this is what he said, I'm asking you to be flexible because we are going to be probably having other options for parents. So he started talking the talk that I see happening in the other states. So again, I'm looking at other states. I'm not just looking at my state and what decisions are made in my state. I'm also listening to other states. And in other states, the parents are getting options, and options are 3-part. And, you know, I might do a video on what I'm hearing. We're reclosing Arizona. That's where we're at. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what's going on in your state. If you live in Arizona, let me know if you are understanding the guidelines and the enforcement of what's going on. If you are, my hat's off to you. I just feel like there's no sound enforcement. So yeah, we have a shutdown effective again tonight at 8 p.m. I recommend you go to Governor Ducey's page, look up the ordinance, read the mandate, and see what exactly he is saying. As always, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.